So even though it's not motorcycle weather, it's time to work on the OldWing again. So shovel the driveway. Turned on the heater. It's a little chilly in here, but it'll get better. And I think the plan is to put on a pot of coffee, come out and work on the rear end. So fender with the new one, or not new one, the old one, the other one. It's off of OldWing as well. See how that fits up, how long it is, how good it looks with the saddlebags held up to it. And then probably work on the saddlebags. One thing I didn't do, I started it and didn't finish it, is kind of a front to back of this bike. I have all the things that have been done. So if we start with the front, so those brakes have been rebuilt, new seals, stainless steel braided lines. The splitter is right underneath there. That's goes to the dual front discs. Little piece right under the headlight. That was taken apart and cleaned. Forks. Had a bent fork tube on one of these, so the bottoms or the lowers are off this OldWing, and one of the fork tubes was replaced. So that took a little bit of monkeying around. Forks have been rebuilt. New fluid. Seals were good. Discs were the best 2 out of the 4 I had. This front wheel was taped up and painted, so painted the rim black. Radiator was taken off and kind of checked over. I had this bike pretty much down to frame and engine at one point in time. So radiator is good. I already mentioned timing belts were done. I come up to the instrument panel here. You can tell I got 2 different color gauges. And that is because my tack was screaming. Tried oiling it and it just made an absolute vicious sound. So swapped it out with another one I had. Don't know if these are the right K in the bike. I think I mixed up the tacks. I took them apart, or mixed up the clocks. I took them apart, cleaned them up. I bent the bracket that holds the gauges. Bent that down so they weren't sticking up quite as much as usual. You can kind of tell that where the key is, there's a lot of a gap here. And this usually would be sticking up quite a bit more. This is a little aftermarket front windscreen. I just threw on there, cuts a little bit of wind. So the major upgrade on this is a hydraulic clutch. And it's way more pullable. The clutch cable was ridiculous to pull. So that came with a braided line as well. That runs down inside the rail to the clutch. And the clutch on this is on the back. There's the clutch plate right here. And trying to get to that with this piece of the frame right here is quite a trick. So it uses the back plate off an 82, I think, a slave cylinder off of I think that's an 82 as well. It needs a custom push pin. And this is a VF700 or VF750 master cylinder. Did the same thing with the brakes, upgraded that to a VF700 or 750 master as well. Upgraded switches. So the newer style, high beam, low beam, nicer turn signals with cancel, kill switch, horn. Built well grips, I have them on the 650 as well, like them a lot. Bar end mirrors, they're a nice little solid design. And a tracker bar. So I tried lots of different bars on this thing. I tried flat, which was good, except no clearance for master and slave cylinders. The brake was brutal. Tried clip-ons, and it was just too aggressive a riding position. So had to go back to these trackers. I had these trackers on the 650, and I changed the 650 to Clubman's. Fuel gauge works. Had to mess around with the fuel sending unit. Had to get this thing working properly. These connections are the ones that are the worst. Tank was out, cleaned. It's not sealed, but it's in good condition. I did mention already that the carbs were gone through and the off idle fix was done. And if anybody knows Randak's Motorcycle Shack, he's got lots of tech articles on there about how to fix the off idle. It's almost like a pause. I don't think I have it exactly right, but they are pretty good. These carbs are quite intense. It's a big unit to go through. Sportster exhaust. Just mentioned that in the last video. Got the new shocks on, that was last video. Rear rim painted and taped off and painted and cleaned. Also painted the rear hub. I gotta keep my fingers out of the camera. Other Sportsman exhausts did pretty good. So the exhaust needed a little bit of welding. Dad helped me with that. So we had to weld an adapter onto the exhaust here. You can see where the weld. So this piece right here is welded on and it fits right onto the Sportster. It's just basically a reducer. And they work really nice. They sound good. Had to do a little bit of wiring fixing. Redid the ground. So did an upgraded ground to one of these two bolts. Rebuilt the petcock. Yeah, that's the bike so far. All right, grab the fender from the pile in the corner. Gonna take everything off of it. Coffee's ready to rock and roll. And then I'll take one off the bike and swap. I think I'm gonna keep, or see how this attaches and keep it. I might need that for saddlebags, so it'll be interesting. So as I'm tearing this apart, a couple things. Check with that plate. September 02, 18 years ago. I think this was actually the first, like the original bike that I bought, the one with the engine that was shot. So it sat for 18 years and then obviously timing belt skipped. This is quite the unit. They're huge. I have another one here as well. I thought that might be from the 650. I do believe I have the original off the OldWing as well. And some of these fasteners are just awesome. So you got like 4 shouldered nuts and these reflector things. I've taken more reflectors off bikes than I'd probably put back on, but just a couple of neat things on this. Hate to do this too, but I'm gonna have to cut the wire here because this is an absolute mess and there's no way it's coming out. So that thing's in pretty good shape. So I think I'll pull the one off the bike and see how this one looks and fits. Taking the back fender off this thing isn't that bad. It's actually 4 bolts. The 2 here on each side, and then the ones that are inside up underneath. I took a picture of the wiring so I know how to hook it all back up. And you can tell exactly how much I cut off. I cut about half the fender off here. And I don't know how much I'm gonna keep. We'll see what happens regarding what it looks like. These 2 bolts right here might be a really good spot to cut it, just below it. because then maybe this gives me a nice cut line. I guess just have to see what it looks like on the bike. And that's all apart. One thing I like about this license plate holder and taillight is it's some seriously thick metal. I don't know, I'm not good at gauges, but that is, like, it weighs quite a bit. This is a big piece. Bolts hold it on are good. And yeah, you can tell I really crudely did that. I think I was running out of patience on that one. I basically cut it off at a nice kind of curve and then I beat it. And it already had this crack in it, so this fender was definitely not the final one. But let's see what this looks like on the new fender. Just like that, 4 bolts, she's back on. I don't mind the length. The nice thing about the fender like this is this lip right here, and it runs all the way up, and it's a nice, finishes it off kind of nice. I guess we'll have to see what it looks like with the saddlebags from the side. Looks really long to me, but again, saddlebags will kind of go out past the back of the back wheel or pretty close to it, so no cutting for now, just deciding. I think I'm gonna have to take a little time to think about where to put the light on here. If I put it here, and I'd have to re-drill the holes or do something like that. The light is not level, it's bent back. And I did bend this bracket a little bit. I don't mind the light right there, but the bracket would have to be bent like that. And the bad thing about it is underneath there's actually a lens that shines light onto the license plate. And the more hard of the angle, the less of the license plate it actually shows. So I'll leave this off for now. Still undecided where to put this. I do remember that's why I bent the crap out of the other fender, so that actually everything kind of sat nice. Because I had bent this way more. You can tell it's a little bit, the bend isn't the greatest. I bent it way more than it shows here, and I bent it back to show more on the license plate. So it's a nice little taillight. I'm still going to use it. I think I'll swap to the saddlebags for now. These things are pretty cool. I found these last year in the fall from a guy selling them, and I think he said they came off a CB 750 project bike, either late 70s or early 80s. But they are actually Honda bags. Oh, nice shadow. There we go. And when you take a look at them, crack them open. Not bad on the inside, some work to do. It had, or it does have, there's a wire here, pigtail. It was wired, obviously coming in right there. Even has the original decal on the underside, so Honda line, which is kind of cool. So a little bit of work in here. I'll maybe redo that foam once I get them mounted, and obviously got some painting to do. Give them a nice little coat of something on the inside. Coat of white on the outside. Obviously got some marks and stuff like that, but I think they'll do pretty good. So I think this is where I'm gonna end for the day. So looking at what I got here, this is pretty darn close. This rail right here, I want it running parallel so that when I put the saddlebag on there, it'll be parallel as well. I bolted it to where the front passenger peg goes. The peg's off right now, but the bolt's in there. But I think that's too short. So I'm probably gonna take that off, measure it eye to eye. I might have to make a piece out of, I think, flat stock. And then because the other piece is the same length, you know, piece in the back here, this one, I might have to make that, shorten it, just to shift the saddlebags back. And I want to make sure they stay level, and I want to make sure they clear the side covers and the passenger foot pegs. So I think these got to come back at least a few inches, and they can't do that without a longer brace in the front, and then it'll have to be a shorter one in the back here. And then I might have to mangle this piece across here, but I think I really like that. I think I'm going to keep it. It's just I've got to make that match up to there. So not too bad for now. From the side, yeah, it's a bit high. No, the height's not bad. Well, it should be a little lower, closer to the muffler. A little lower. That might be tough with this bracket right here though, because that's right on there. But something to think about. Anyways, good enough for the day. I guess that's not quite it for the day. So after I shut the video off last time, I decided to find the mounting brackets for the other saddlebags. And that's one of the ones I didn't use. And it actually works pretty good. It puts the saddlebag far enough back. It clears the shock pretty good. And I could have actually bent it in a little bit closer. And if I bend it a little bit closer, that bar, back of that bar comes in. It's sticking out a little bit right now. Definitely don't want it to come in like that, but I don't want the saddlebags at an angle. And I might use the other bar off the saddlebags, but it's sitting much better. More of where I like it. Back end could go down a little bit, but it's far enough back. And if I can get it close to that, I might be pretty happy. Okay, now I'm going inside. Done for the day.